Okay. So welcome to a Monday Meetup. I'm Lorelea Roberts from Offerings of Wonder by Lorelea. If you're not here with us live and you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe so you don't miss future ones. So welcome to a Monday Meetup. I'm Lorelea Roberts from Offerings of Wonder by Lorelea. If you're not, there we go. All right. So today we are going to talk about scarfing. And so the first thing I wanted to talk about is what is scarfing. Hey, Charlotte, welcome.
Hi.
So what is scarfing? I'm going to go ahead and take control and make this bigger here. So I've just got some shorter pieces here to talk about things. So when we create a basket, a lot of times we're using flat oval. Which means it's flat on one side and rounded on the other side for our rims. It makes our rims more sturdy doing that. But this is also pretty thick. So when we put our rims on and we overlap them, if we don't do anything, we end up with this double thickness. And it's bulky and it just doesn't look quite as nice. So what we do is we scarf. So I'm going to talk a couple different things. So the traditional scarfing, I use as a rule of thumb. I'll sit here. And I'm going to lift this up a little bit. Here we go. This way. Okay. So here is our overlap on this basket. And we have a scarf, which means we've skinnied down both sides. And then turned out this way. All right, there we go. Okay, so when you see the overlap here, the thickness is actually where it overlaps the same thickness as where it is when it's solid. So that's, I guess, my first tip. Rule of thumb, when you measure, I like to go over 4 spokes. So in this case, I had 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's what my overlap is. So that's a good general rule of thumb is a 4-spoke overlap, regardless of what size reed that you're using. If you're going over 4 spokes, you've probably got enough overlap. So on smaller baskets, it's much smaller, and on bigger baskets, it's bigger. So that's my first tip for the day. Okay, come back down. And there are all kinds of tools that you can use for scarfing. Let's see, slide on, there we go. Okay, so let me talk through a few tools first. I think this red-handled scarfer is probably the easiest to use when people are starting off. I think it's a good tool. It actually has a sharp edge on one side and a dull edge on the other. And I'll demonstrate it. We obviously use the sharp sides to scarf. So that's probably the, most people know about that. And if you don't have one of these, and especially if you're earlier on in your career and sometimes later on in your career, it's a really good tool. It works really well and it's easy to use. Okay, so that's one thing. There are these little planers. They have a blade on the bottom and they come in a couple of different sizes. This is a nice little mini one. I like this one. This one's a little bit bigger. I don't travel with these guys because they're also heavy, but these work really well. And we'll go through, I said, I'll demonstrate everything. A good sharp knife. This is my favorite. I got this from Ann Bowers, but that's the brand. It's kind of like a rubbery handle. Okay. So I like using a knife. That's another tool. There is also a draw blade. Again, we'll demo all of these, but I just want to kind of talk through all the tools. A draw blade has two handles and a blade on an angle, and you can actually use it either way, but it's kind of flat on this side and has an angle on this side. So that's a draw knife, very sharp. Keep it in its in its case. And the last tool I'm going to talk about today is this is also a scarfing knife. It has a sharp side on one side and the side is not sharp and you use it. So we'll demo that as well. Okay, so those are all of the things. When you're scarfing, it's really important that you are using something. You don't want to scarf on a table where you could scuff up your table. So a nice piece of wood is great. This was from, let's see, this was from State Line Weaving Retreat a few years ago. So you can tell it's well loved. So you want to do that. And then when we get to the draw knife, I'll show you what we use. I have a little table pony that will do. Okay, so we're going to pretend that we are looking at our basket and we're measuring the rim. So we're gonna pretend that we've put our rim around, and let's see. I'm gonna say I need to cut a little bit off. So I'm gonna say on the back side, we're gonna use the back side. So what I like to do is the piece that is underneath, I like to make a mark on the outside one, right where they would overlap. Okay, right where we want the end to overlap. So I just make a mark like right at the end there. And then I lift it up and I go like this because I want to cut on this side or scarf on this side. So I just make marks so I don't forget. And then the other thing that I do is I mark this. We're going to pretend this is the outside one. I make an O on it. Let me see that. That light's not very good. All right, let me make that darker so you can see it. But I just put an O on it. So when I pull it off the basket and I'm scarfing the inner and the outer, I remember which one is outer and which one is inner. Okay. All right. So this is my overlap. I've made the mark on the piece that's on top. And then for the piece that's on the bottom, I'm going to say my 4-spoke overlap is really, well, we'll just pretend that it's there, is I'm going to make a mark on it just shy of where it would overlap. Okay, so just shy. So that's how I mark it. And I said I use the rule of about a 4-spoke overlap. Okay, all right. So now let's talk about the tools. When we scarf, we want it to be thickest where it's meeting and thinnest down at the bottom. So again, when they overlap, we put one on top of the other that it will be equal to one thickness. So a little bit here. There we go. So if you're using, I'm going to start with the red handle tool, the scarfing tool. I'm going to check to see which side is the sharp side. So I make sure the sharp side is going to point down. This was my line. I know I want to scarf from there coming forward. And when you scarf, if you think about it, you're starting here and coming down, and you want this part to be the thinnest. So I'm going to put my scarfing tool there. It's placed a little bit on an angle. I'm just going to turn sideways for a second. So it's a little bit of an angle. And then you just pull. Okay. And you can see made this nice little curly Q. I didn't get quite all the way to the bottom, so I'm going to just finish that and do one more scrape all the way to the bottom. So you would do this a couple times, like once in the middle, once on each end. And then after you do that, well, let's just do that. We'll just, so I can show you guys this. Boom. Okay. And I'm just throwing my little shavings off here to the side. Okay. So the next pass, I would start a little bit further down. So remember, I want this part to be thickest and this part to be thinnest. So I'm just going to start maybe, I don't know, half inch or so down, and then I'm going to scrape again. And then I'd come back up. I'd start a little bit closer to the end, do some more scrapes. And I'm just going to keep doing that until I get it to a point where it's about half the thickness. Come up nice and close. About half the thickness of what we started with. Okay. So that's using the scarfing tool. So start at where you want to start, do complete passes, start a little bit lower, complete pass a little bit lower, a little bit lower. Okay. All right, so that is the scarfing tool. I'm guessing most people probably use that. Let me just talk about the planers. The planers you can use as well. Mine's not very sharp, but we're going to give it a try. You would do the same thing. You just lay it on and pull. Yeah. Need to get my blade sharpened, but that's the idea, is you can do that. This takes off a little bit more than this does. So this is why I like to use this one, especially for newer weavers, or if you don't have a lot of hand control, you can do that. But the planer is just that, boom, ba-doom. I talked about my favorite, which is this rock mill. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but the knife. I said I got this from Ann Bowers. I'm going to go to the other, let's see, grab another piece here. And towel. You want to use either a towel or a piece of leather. If you want to do it on your wood block, I'll start with that. You just, when you use a knife, you don't move the knife. Like with our red tool, we were moving the tool. With the planer, you're moving the tool. When you use a knife, you want the knife to stay still, and you're going to move your reed. So if you're doing it on a piece of wood, and again, I'm just going to kind of start towards the bottom. I'm holding the knife still, and I'm pulling the reed. Okay. I also like to do it on my leg. So let me see if I can switch over here. Okay. So same thing, you want something to protect your leg, either a good, I've got this towel a few times folded, or a nice piece of leather can lay on your leg. But the same thing again, I'm holding my knife, and I'm holding it, at a little bit of an angle. And if you use a knife, you'll kind of get to feel, I like to go shallower first and then go deeper. If you get really good, you can sometimes do this in one good swipe. But we're keeping the knife on a little bit of an angle, and I'm holding my right hand still. I'm not moving my right hand. I am pulling the reed. Okay. So this is a much safer way than moving the knife. So I wanted to talk about that. This makes a nice smooth as opposed to our pieces we did. You guys can see that. It's kind of angled, but it's a little bit rougher. And I'm going to talk about what to do about that. But the knife makes a nice smooth cut. So you can do that. And that is the knife. All right, let's go back to the table. And the other end here. Oh, the other thing, these are dry, but normally when I do scarfing, I've measured so my reed is wet. So some people ask me, is it better to scarf with it dry or wet? I usually do it when it's wet because I've wet it to be able to bend it to put it on the basket. Okay, so this is another kind of scarfing tool. It's got a wicked angle on it. Again, make sure you're using it on a wood board. This one you could use just like we did the red one, because it's basically got a blade and you can just pull and it makes little crinkles. So that is that. I just wanted to show you guys there's a lot of different things that you can use. All right, and then the last tool I want to show you, and let's see, I'm going to, oops. Come back. Come on. Sorry, you guys, I just blacked out the thing. Video. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to do this. You guys can see my messy studio. I'm cutting kits right now for the show next week. All right. This is a shave pony. Bring this a little bit closer. There we go. So it has a piece that moves back and forth here and has some sandpaper on it. And the way you use this is you would put your rim, you would lift it up to make space. Let's try that. There we go. Let's do that again. So you'd lift it up, you'd slide your rim in there, and then you would push it up and make it tight. And then when you, whoops, when you pull on it, let me get a little longer piece so that longer piece. There we go. Okay. All right, so we put it in there, and then when you pull on it, there we go, grab it and it will hold it in there. Okay. Let me turn this a little bit here. All right, so this is our draw knife. Remember I said it was flat on one side and the other side has a little bevel on it. So, and it has two handles, so we're going to put both our hands on. So once your reed is in a shaved pony, it's basically wood that's holding it on. You would lay your draw knife wherever you want to start, and you pull toward yourself. Go that deep. All right, let's try that again. There we go. And you do the same thing on this. You would start high and shave down. You may only need a couple passes. And I'm going to feel this. The end feels just a little bit thick. So I'm going to lay this down on it again. And I'm just going to do that. So that last little bit. There we go. All right, that feels better. So that's how you use a draw knife. Very, very sharp. You can also use it. So I used it with the flat of the blade against the reed. You can use it the other way. I think Diane Stanton had showed me this. She thought there was a little more control. So you could use it that way as well. You can just play with it and see which way you feel most comfortable. Okay. Okay. So that is the draw knife. All right. Come back over here. Here. All right. So once you've done the scarfing on both sides, obviously, grab one of these guys. Sometimes like this was with the draw knife, it comes out very smooth. The knife, the purple knife also comes out very smooth. But sometimes the other tools, you get a little bit of roughness on. This one's good and rough. I was playing with this one. All right. So I'm going to see if I can actually turn this light off. I think that's a little bit better. So once you're done, I like to use a little hand sander. So this is it's a foam hand sander. You can change out, it's got pressure on it, so you can change these pieces out. But I like to, once I've scarfed, just really go back over and just sand it a little bit to smooth it out, get any of those lumps and bumps out of the way so that when you lay your pieces, they'll fit nicely. And then the other thing I like to use the sander for is on the very end. Let's see, take this one. On the very end of your, where you want to shape, well, it would be on the other side. Do I have that one scarf? Yeah. So what I like to do is I like to like cut two little triangles. Close, there we go. Two little triangles off the end of my, where I've, the end that I want to show. That's what it would be. And then I use my little sander and just kind of round them out. And then that makes a really nice, just rounding for you. So those are a couple of tips. I like the little hand sander. You can just use a piece of sandpaper if you have sandpaper, but it really makes a big difference on smoothing out where you're going to do your overlap to make it one, it'll overlap nicer. And it'll get rid of any of those bumps that you've gotten from using any of the scraping or planing tools. Okay. All right, I'm gonna stop there. Come back to there. Any questions? No? Okay. So if you haven't joined me before, at the end, we like to do a show and tell. So if you've been working on something, either basket related or anything else, there's lots going on that our lives that we do. If you'd like to share, just share what you're working on. Charlotte, do you have anything you'd like to share?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
Just learning today.
Okay, no worries. And Mary Beth, I know, how's the kitchen coming along?
Oh, I haven't heard from my contractor, so no progress,
Bummer.
but
Okay.
we'll get it done.
All right. Anything you'd like to share for show and tell?
Well, I have just a tip.
Okay.
I have submitted baskets to the state fair, and oftentimes I will try to do a matchy-matchy with the rim. And when you trim it, of course, then you have the white insides. So if you don't really match it up nicely, then they give you a demerit, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so my sort of remedy for that is to have a cheap set of magic markers or markers of some sort or another and try to kind of match that color where the white might show to lessen the white.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just stick right out. You can't always match it perfectly, but
I
just
have a ton of Sharpies. This is just some, like I probably have 4 or 5 containers of Sharpies.
Yeah, well,
so just in case, right? So that's a great tip when you're dyeing, when you're using a dyed reed, it doesn't dye all the way through. See you later, Barb. She's got to run. But it is if you're using dyed reed, the dye doesn't permeate all the way through the reed. So when you cut it, you get the natural color showing. That's what Mary Beth was talking about. So it's yeah, Sharpies are fun, and they come in so many colors. Oh my gosh, so many colors. Okay, great tip. Teresa, do you want to come off of mute? Anything you want to share?
No, I don't have anything to share, but I did post a question about your table pony, where you can get the table pony.
Where I can get, sorry, there we go. Oh, the table ponies. Boy. Well, I will definitely say if you go to any conventions, look into silent auctions, because a lot of times they're in silent auctions because people don't use them all the time. But I love
Great.
mine.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got mine.
Okay.
I have this one, and then I have one that's like a really like almost like a little mini one.
Okay.
I didn't get that one out, but there's a couple of doing. I will see if I can see anybody who's selling them, and I will post that on my website.
Great. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Great. All right. And then, well, I will do on my show and tell because I don't think I had it ready last week. So if you like how I teach, I have a bi-monthly subscription called the Hoot Basket Gift Club. And you get new designs by me. So this is our July basket, like a blanket basket. It's got a little sunflower on it. It's going to have wood handles and the clothespin legs. And I'm calling it Sunshine Snuggle because I think about blankets. I use blankets all year round to snuggle on the couch. But anyway, that's the July basket, and it is open right now. If I have a few slots that are open, and so if you're interested, you can find it on my website, Lorelea.com, or just reach out to me, and we'll show you that. That's what I've been working on, and cutting kits for Bluegrass area conference, which is next week, like a week from Wednesday. Yeah, it's up in Carrollton, Kentucky. So I've been cutting kits for the sunflower snuggle because those will go out at the beginning of July. And then what else have I been working on? That's really it. Really getting ready. Making sure I have all my supplies and everything for the classes I'm teaching 5 classes. If you saw, I was cooking some pine needles yesterday. I think I posted one yesterday and maybe one today. But just cooking pine needles. I'm doing a pine needle basket, and it smells so good. So I cook them in a big roaster pan, and when I take them out and spread them all out to dry, the aroma of pine needles is lovely, lovely, lovely. All right. Anything?
Why do you cook them?
Oh, so I cook them in water and glycerin, and
Oh, okay.
and then they get softer, so you don't have to wet them when you actually use them to coil with.
Sure.
Yep. Good question, though. Yeah. Water and glycerin. Then magic happens. All right. All right. Well, we'll cut it off there then. I hope you guys have a fantastic week. Happy Monday, as always. And I will see you guys. I haven't decided if I'm going to do a Monday meetup next week because I'm leaving on Tuesday and I have to get all packed up on Monday. So stay tuned. If you don't see something from me, there will be one the following week. Okay. All right. Take care, everybody.